appreciate everyone's patience. Hopefully everyone got a chance, and please feel free if you need to get up during it. The restrooms are to the left there. And I want to start off with just giving a real shout out and deep appreciation for the library. Can we give a hand for the library? Yes. Thank you. Jeannie is the manager here of the library for the Eastman branch. Yes. We're really proud to have an asset in our ward. And this is our only library in the ward, so we're really just fortunate to have them and grateful for them to host us and looking forward to having many more community meetings here. So thank you to the library, and we always appreciate you guys' presence. They did ask me to plug their calendar, so make sure you check out their calendar for upcoming events. They have lots of events for kids, including adults. So anything else I missed, Jeannie?
No, that sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And for the folks who don't know, my name is Tanmay, and I am your new councilman for the new Ward 12. And I am really appreciative of you guys being here. And I want to make sure everyone can hear me, right? In the back there? It's okay? Okay, okay. I know we have a mic system, but my mom always told me I had a big mouth, so I'm fine with just running it. And I also want to shout out to Quavion here with Simply Neighbors, who's helping us do some AV visuals.
And other people with us, Evangeline, Donovan, and Stephanie.
They're helping us video each of our community meetings, and it'll be posted on YouTube as well. So if you have neighbors that weren't able to make it out, we'll get a link and we'll send it out in the next newsletter so that folks can take a look at it, and it'll be there online. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your work on this. So yeah, thank you for everyone making it. This is our second community meeting. And this is Nico, by the way, over there on the camera. Wait, say hi to Nico.
Hello, everybody. I'm the executive assistant for the Ward 12 office.
Yeah, and I always want to stress and make it clear, Nico is not my executive assistant. He is the Ward 12 office executive assistant. So he's there most likely oftentimes when you're calling. He's the first person you're going to be talking to. And we have a couple more folks that we just hired that I'll get into more once we start. And I have to start off with an apology. We left our screen back at the office, so we're going to direct your attention to the TV there. It's not too much that we have, but as I go through the slides, you can reference what I'm talking about. So we also have Kai helping us and manning the desk. Thanks a lot, Kai. Can you go forward to the next one? Thank you. So I want to just point out, for the folks who may not be aware, I know the city hasn't always done a great job of communicating changes. The ward map has changed. So we are in the heart of what is now the new Ward 12, and this includes everything from the lake all the way down south to the Lyndale border. And on the east side, it starts on 100th Street, sometimes it goes to 98th, but mostly 100th. And then on the west side, we go all the way up to 117th to the border of Lakewood. And then down south, we go all the way up to 132nd and 130th. So I know this is a new map, and it's going to take a little bit of adjustment. It mostly mirrors our previous Ward 11, but we also have chunks of new Ward 15, of the old Ward 15. So I know there's some folks that are also here from the Edgewater neighborhood, so it'll be a newer map for them. But that's our new map. And I wanted to start off the conversation with that grounding of understanding how different our neighborhoods are in this new ward. You know, we have folks that are all the way up on the lake to all the way down south, right? And those neighborhoods look different, and the needs are different. And this is true not just for our ward, but for our entire city. And this is something that we're balancing and juggling at City Hall, is how do we fulfill the needs of everyone that lives, whether they're in Edgewater, whether they're in Jefferson, West Boulevard, or Crudell, all the way to Buckeye, to Shaker, to Mount Pleasant, to West Park. It's a broad range, and that's not an excuse, but it's something that I want to keep reminding folks, is as we're going through the process of what city services looks like, they may not always be satisfactory. We should always be demanding the best, but we have to have something that works for every single portion of our city and our ward. So I just want folks to kind of remember that and know that this is the new ward, and this is what we're working with. And you know, this map was not drawn by me. This was something that I came into, and I'm really grateful once again for all the work that's gone into it. So this is our new ward, and what we're gonna do, hopefully everybody got a chance to grab an agenda, and I wanna just make sure we're gonna be going along through that And I'm not planning on talking for too long. I have a tendency to do that, so if I'm talking for too long, you can let me know with your watch, and I'll wrap it up. But we should be done for my section in about 30 minutes, and then for the rest of the time, we're gonna just do a Q&A, and I'm not leaving until every single question has been answered, or until the librarian kicks us out. So we'll do one or the other. But either way, just make sure that we can save questions till the end. But your questions will be heard, and we'll make sure they get answered, or I'll connect you with someone who can answer it. So if you can just save your questions till the end. Thanks, Kai. So after we've talked about our award, one of the things that if folks didn't know during our campaign, what we were talking about is what we're going to be delivering on now. For me, as the elected official, my mandate is what I ran on. This is what I told folks, and this is what I made a promise to commit and deliver on. And so for the next 4 years, these are the priorities that I believe I have a mandate to run on. And that's affordable housing, affordable groceries, and reliable city services. Now, that doesn't mean that everything else falls to the wayside, right? Everything that the city does is important. But in terms of finding capacity and bottom lining projects and making sure that we are innovating, this is where our office's focus is going to be. It is by making sure that our neighbors have affordable and lead-safe housing. This is an issue that we've seen prevalent across the city, not just in our ward. But as a matter of fact, West Boulevard is one of the epicenters for lead crisis, where we have some of the highest rates for our children having lead poisoning. And that's something that we have to address, and we have to make sure we remember each time we talk about affordable housing, that it's not just affordable, but it's also safe. For the folks who didn't see, we also just have a new lead czar at City Hall. It's former Councilwoman Rebecca Maurer, who has a deep expertise and work in the lead campaign that she came into even before council, and she's going to be bottom lining the city's response to this. And I'm really excited about this. There's not very many people that have the awareness and an understanding of what the lead ecosystem looks like, how Rebecca Maurer does. So I'm really excited for that, and I can answer more questions about that. But those are the priorities, once again, that we're going to be working to deliver on. So as we go through the next few months, we're going to talk about what community engagement looks like. What are the policies that we're bringing forth? But they're going to be centered around these things, right? And as we talk about those priorities, I want that to kind of be in the back of your mind of what community engagement looks like. So I want to also talk about next, what have we been doing? Sorry. So City Hall is a big place, and I'm learning a lot. So Cleveland starts with their budget process. Unlike many cities, we actually do our budget process at the beginning of each year. We do not do it at the end. And this is kind of finalizing what we're going to be doing for the next 12 months. So at the last Monday meeting, 2 Mondays ago, we just finalized and passed our 2026 budget. I want to see if folks have a guess of how big is our Cleveland City budget. Anyone have a guess? I want to see a couple hands if you have a guess.
1.2 million.
1.2 million? Okay, maybe.
Billion.
Evan? 1.2 billion with a B? Okay, any other guesses? That's a big range. I see Danny back there with the 2 billion. And Danny's the closest. Yeah.
Not
Not enough. Some might say too much, right? It's both ways. But our budget that we just passed was $2.3 billion with a B. That's right. So we're going to go through what that budget looks like in just a little bit. But we just spent about a month breaking down the budget. So the way the budget process in Cleveland works is that the mayor comes up with his budget. It's called the mayor's estimate. And he has to provide that to council by February. Once council gets the budget, we ask every single department and division in City Hall to come before City Council, and we go through it line item by line item. We ask them, where did you spend this money last year? What was the work you were doing? And of course, for a lot of my colleagues that have been there a little longer than me, they ask them why weren't things getting done the way they were getting promised beforehand. So we went through that process for about 2 weeks. I was telling Hallie just earlier that our longest day was when we were going through the public safety budget. We started at 9 a.m. and I didn't get home till 11 p.m. It was about a 12-and-a-half-hour day that we spent at the budget table, going through each line item, understanding what our money was being spent and what the city is doing with this money. And for me as a new councilman, this was really helpful to kind of just understand the breadth of what City Hall is doing. Every day still, I'm finding new people that are doing jobs that I had no idea City Hall did. And every day I'm finding new processes that we should be improving upon and modernizing. This is something, the Bibb administration has been working on for their first 4 years, but it really wasn't something that got done for about 20 years even before that. So this is something that we have to update our processes and systems. There's departments that are still working on paper that have not updated. One of the folks in HR, they were really proud at the budget table because they said that we finally got DocuSign. So we're now able to sign documents electronically. Before, they were literally running papers up and down each level of City Hall, making sure things got done. And, as I'm talking through this, I want to make it clear. The people at City Hall doing the work care deeply about what they're doing. This isn't a matter of people who don't care. This is a bigger issue than that. It's a systems issue and it's a resource issue where we have, unfortunately, not enough resources for the level of infrastructure and the things that our city has. As many of you probably know much better than me, our city used to have 1 million people. Now we're at about 350,000 people. That's a third of the people. But we still have the infrastructure, the facilities, the roads, the bridges, the parks, the sewer systems, the street lights for 1 million people. And it's going to take us some time to right-size that. And a big portion of that is what you've probably seen if you've been paying attention with the schools. And this is unfortunately a challenge that, once again, is a product of our population decline, where we have to right-size the schools. And I want to talk about that in just a little bit, but the first month, 2 months for me and Nico was just getting our bearings. We met with every single department in City Hall. I've met with every single director. And I've asked them, what are the resources that you need? What are the projects you're working on? And where are we going with this? And we've started meeting with external partners as well. Everything from nonprofits to our CDC, Westtown. I see some members and board members here as well. So we've started reviewing how are the ways that City Hall is getting things done by working with external partners as well. So we've been having those meetings and understanding what that looks like. We've started our community engagement process by having this. And this is where I want to give a real shout out for Nico, because when we came in, the process for the previous council was doing paper and pencil, and that is how we were keeping track. I actually did not have any records from before for the Ward 11. I had a constituent log for Ward 15, but I believe this is just, we can modernize that process. So that was the first thing we did, was we found a constituent management service, and we've started that process so that every time you call us or you email us, we're documenting that so that we're able to follow up better. We're tracking your emails, your addresses, because right now we're in a reactive phase for the office. So every time you call us, we're going through and following up with departments, ensuring that things are getting done, understanding why things aren't working, and trying to figure out a problem. But we want to go from that reactive phase to a proactive phase, where before problems come up to the degree we can, we want to let you know so that you're not actually having to scramble around and say, why is there a water line crew that's working on this street and no one told me? And now your car is blocked in and you have to get to work. I don't want that to happen. So we want to shift to a proactive phase. But for that to happen, we have to first understand what the trends are and where things are going. So historically, like I said, we haven't been keeping track of this record. And we believe our constituents and residents, all of you, will be better served when we are able to pass this on to all of the folks that come after us. Because that's what each of you deserve. We want to be able to track that system. So that's what we've been doing. And this is where Nico has been doing a lot of work. So I just want to give him recognition for that. And like I said, when you call, yeah, give him a hand. And going back to what we were talking about with our priorities, this is also where we're connecting the dots, right? We're tracking the buckets of questions that people have. the needs that we have. Already we've seen the overwhelming majority of the calls we're getting, close to 2/3 of the calls we're getting. Anyone want to guess what it's regarding? I heard potholes. What else? Safety. What's that? Power outages. That might be up there in the last week, but no, it's actually been housing. It's tenants that have issues with their landlords. It's landlords who are unable to have home repair services. It's senior citizens who need home repair services. But by and far, it has been housing related issues, which once again reflects what we heard on the doors when we were knocking. It's what we heard during the campaign. And it's why we've made affordable and safe housing the #1 priority. There's a real need for it, and we're seeing that borne out in the constituent requests that we're getting. And I also want to give Nico time to kind of talk about some of the trends he's started to see as we work through this process.
Hi everybody, I'm Nico, the Executive Assistant for the Ward 12 office, and yeah, just to talk about kind of the constituent service system. I mean, like I said, it's been very reactive, so appreciate every one of you who has called and gotten in touch with us, because that kind of gives us a place to start in terms of understanding what the city is doing right now. So every time we get a call and we're able to follow up and see this is what the Building and Housing Department is doing, this is what public utilities are doing, everything like that, that helps inform our broader understanding. And this is all connected. So what we're hearing from individual constituents is also going to be connected to the broader policies that we want to see happen in the city of Cleveland. So I appreciate everybody reaching out, and I've been working to develop a way to track the categories of cases that we're seeing, setting a system for following up, and I'm optimistic we're going to be able to do that a lot better once we've got a few more folks helping out. So we have more time to check in and make sure that we're really following up on every single case. But yeah, I've been very grateful to have the opportunity to help folks in the ward with no issue is too small, no issue is too large. It's kind of been everything from a pothole to I'm about to be evicted and the water is shut off, and really extreme circumstances like that. So yeah, just want to appreciate this opportunity and everything that I've been able to do so far. I'm really grateful to be able to help folks and work to build the kind of Ward 12 that we need.
Thanks, Nico. So what Nico just mentioned was opening up capacity, right? And that means more staff. We've already hired and have offered 2 more positions. You guys might have seen this on our social media. We were also asking our partners to share news about this, and we got more than, I think, was it 20 applicants?
I think it was only 18.
18 applicants, almost 20. We had 18 applicants for 2 positions, and we've targeted this to be a housing organizer and a constituent service organizer. So going back to the housing need, we need someone who's going to be doing know your rights trainings for tenants, someone who's going to go out in the field and help document when things are not going the way there's code enforcement need. So we have someone who we just hired for that. They're going to start in a few weeks. We also hired another person who's going to be helping out Nico with doing constituent service management, so that Nico can have more capacity to follow up on other projects. But all of these go to the point of making sure that we have the capacity and we don't lose sight of our priorities. For me, the absolute nightmare is that in 4 years, we come to election time and I haven't delivered anything that I promised on. For me, that's what I care about. All of the other stuff doesn't matter to me. If you think I've delivered on it, we'll see, take it from there. But we have to make sure that we deliver on those priorities. Just making sure that people's everyday needs being met are not enough. We have to proactively make sure that government is fulfilling our needs. So that's what our focus is going to be on. And with the staff hiring, I also want to just give a quick shout out to Keith there. Keith, you want to give everyone a wave? Keith is going to be our part-time code enforcement jack of all trades. If you know Keith, he's already been involved in his community over on Fortune.
Yes, I'm Fortune Avenue.
Fortune Avenue. That's right. So we're really excited for Keith to join the team, and he's going to be supporting, lending his expertise for a couple different projects. So you might see him out in the field. If you do, give him a wave.
Just look for the hat.
That's right. Just look for the hat.
What are the other names?
We also have Chris and Katie. Chris is the housing organizer, and Katie is the constituent service manager. Thank you, Sue. So what's coming up next? We're going to get them onboarded in this next month, and then we're also looking for a ward office right now. You might have heard me talk about this in the last few weeks. One of the things that I wanted to change after we came in was make sure that we actually have a location that you can come into and get help. I don't think it's fair for you to have to come downtown, worry about parking, especially with them jacking up those rates, to just be able to talk to one of us or be able to get help. So we're looking for a ward office. There's a couple places we have in mind, but we want to make sure we're prioritizing accessibility by public transit, ADA accessibility, and also just having a gathering space so we can have community meetings going forward. My hope and goal is to have it somewhere around here, because geographically this is kind of the center of the ward. It's the heart of the ward. Lorraine is, for me, just the main corridor in the main street of our ward. So I want to make sure I prioritize that. So I am looking, if you know any landlords, if you know any places that would be good for that, let me know. We're on the lookout for that. And I'm hoping to have a ward office before summer starts. But that's kind of up to the market, and we'll be providing that. As soon as we have a ward office, you'll definitely know, you'll get mail about it, and you'll be able to start visiting us. With the hours, we'll get them posted. But that's one of the things we're working in. Stay tuned for that. And then finally, I want to talk about the school mergers briefly. This is an issue that we've already gotten a lot of feedback about. So the CMSD, which many of you folks probably already know, it is not an elected school board. It's an appointed school board by the mayor. It's one of the few districts in the whole state that's run like that. And just earlier this year, they approved a plan which merges a new bunch of our schools where we're going to be downsizing buildings. And our ward is going to be affected because we're losing 3 schools. We're losing Louisa May Alcott up in Edgewater. We're losing Mary Church Terrell. And then we're also going to be losing West Tech, or New Tech West. New Tech West. So these are the 3 schools that are going to be merged. And we've been in conversations with the administration to make sure that those buildings, we want to make sure everybody that lives around there has a say in what happens next. Because we see it as a real public opportunity to make sure that our neighborhoods don't just have a massive building that gets mothballed and forgotten about. Because we know that can be an eyesore. So we want your involvement in it, and what I'm fighting for at the table with the administration is to make sure that we're not just speeding to get these properties off our books and into the hands of private developers. Because as soon as we do, we're going to lose the ability to have any control about what goes in there. So that's one of the things that we've been in conversations with, and we've had commitments from the administration that they're going to prioritize community involvement. So one of the ways we're going to be asking you to get involved in your neighborhood is by talking to your neighbors. And the folks around Louisa May Alcott already have started doing that. They've been talking about what are the things they want to see. And that's a model that we want to bring to the other parts of our ward as well. Whether that is a senior living facility for folks who are not able to take care of their bigger home and they want to downsize, they want to live together, to daycare options, because these facilities are already ready for children. We want to be creative about this, and the more community involvement and buy-in we have, the more we're able to go to bat with the administration and say, look, there's a real need here and an opportunity, and this is what the neighborhood wants. And for me, that's the priority, is to make sure that the residents who are living around those buildings are in the driver's seat of what happens to that building. Because at the end of the day, it's a public asset. Your taxpayers, your money is paying for it, and you should get to determine what happens to it. So that's something that will be coming up in the next few months. Stay tuned. We want to create real opportunities for you to get involved with your neighbors, start block clubs, neighborhood associations to understand what happens next. So I know that's really small here, and we can get folks different copies of that too if there's interest. But I want to just talk about the budget real briefly. So if you look to the right there, you'll see the big budget. I know it's really hard to see the numbers from here, but what I will point out is that big green slice. Everybody see the big green slice? Anybody have any guesses what that big green slice is? Not schools. Public safety. That's right. That's fire, that's EMS, and that's police. So those are the 3 things, and that's by and far the biggest item on our budget. Almost half of our budget goes to those things. Now, if you look at all the other slices, Brett, do you want to give us a help? Can you tell us what's the number next to building and housing?
1.8%.
1.8%. How about Parks and Rec?
4.3%.
How about Public Works?
7.5%.
Okay. I want to just give folks a grounding. What Public Works is
What's the yellow piece? What is that?
non-departmental. So that includes non-departmental. That's kind of a catch-all for a bunch of administrative roles. So that includes, things like the mayor's administration. That includes, I believe, the finance department. That also includes city council. So those are the ones for the yellow portion. But Public Works, for example, I want to just pick on Public Works for a minute. 7.4%. Public Works includes the division of streets. It also includes the division of waste collection. It also includes, help me out here, what else we got on there?
They moved that part, right? I don't know.
Pull it up.
I'll pull it up.
There's 7 divisions under Public Works. There's parking, division of motor vehicle maintenance. So what I want to highlight with that is that all of those things that more often than not we're getting calls on. For example, your potholes,
Traffic engineering,
traffic engineering,
motor vehicle maintenance,
motor vehicle maintenance,
and then, yeah, so most of the other ones are in Parks and Rec now, so.
parks. So once again, whenever you are wondering, why is the city not able to get to X, Y, and Z? I want you to think about that chart. Because as city council, as a mayoral administration, we have decided these are going to be our priorities. So once again, we talk about streets, that's 7.4%. A small chunk of that goes to streets. When we talk about building and housing, when you're looking at code enforcement, when you're wondering why tenants aren't getting the help they deserve, those are once again the numbers that we're working with, right? And that's just a hard reality that we have to address. And that's something that in the next year, we're gonna have a lot more influence, and we wanna be able to change that based on what we are seeing on our constituent requests. So that's the whole goal when we move into that proactive phase, is we start fighting for at the table, what are the things that our constituent and residents actually need? That we can effectively go to the table and say, look, we got hundreds of calls on this last year. And that means there's thousands and tens of thousands of people that didn't even reach out because they don't know we're here, they don't know how the city works, but we want to make sure that we can devote resources to that. So once again, I want to just make sure I'm connecting the dots as much as I can, but that's our budget. And like I said, it took us a month to finalize. After the mayor came to us with it, we went through each department, we haggled with the administration, we haggled with each other, and we were able to get $8 more million into roads being resurfaced. We just finalized that list of which roads are going to get resurfaced in each ward. We also are just about to finalize the amount that will also go into a receivership. This is something I'm really excited about that we fought for with the administration. So a receivership is a not often used legal mechanism that allows the government, that allows that allows the city to take over a building that is in distress. So this could be a building that roof's falling in, or an apartment complex where the landlord is out of state and they're not making the investments that need to be made. This mechanism allows us legally to take over that building, to stabilize it, to make the repairs that are needed, to fix the issues that are needed, and then to transfer it out of our ownership and back into private hands. It's called a receivership, and this is a tool that we're seeing more and more cities and counties and governments around the country use more. Because unfortunately, we've been beset with these out-of-state landlords that are not keeping up with their properties, even private landlords that are in city that don't have the resources to maintain things. And we wanted to come up with a way to start addressing it. So this year, we've only put in $1 million for it, but the hope is, I was fighting for 5 to 10 million, but my council colleagues wanted to have a pilot year, and the next year, based on what the results look like, we want to expand it. So we'll make sure that we keep on it, and you'll hear more about it. But that's one really cool thing that we were able to get in the budget this year. As part of that budget, we were also able to get more money for the Summer Sprouts program. How many folks here are participating in a community garden around you? Can I get a show of hands? Not many. Okay. Yeah, one.
I have a black thumb.
This is actually something that's our ward is really unique on is that we don't actually have a lot of community gardens that are active. Most of the other city parts actually have too many community gardens, but we don't have that many. So that's something that we're going to be working on, making sure we can have more city-owned lots that can be converted into community gardens. And we just put more money into the program that allows us to do that. This is called the Summer Sprouts program, and we put about $250,000 into it. So those are just some of the highlights. And then one of the last things I wanted to mention was we also just started and passed what was called Tanisha's Law. Tanisha's Law was named for Tanisha Anderson, who about 15 years ago now was killed when she was restrained while she was undergoing a mental crisis. And this is something we're seeing also once again across the country, where we're starting to recognize that not every call that the police get, it's appropriate to send someone with a gun. And we want to start making sure that our neighbors that are in crisis actually get the help they deserve and they're kept safe. So we got this, and this was even before me, so I'm not taking credit for this. This was City Council and the administration before I got in that almost teed it up. But in February, we passed Tanisha's Law that is now going to create a new Bureau of Community Crisis Response within EMS. So the EMS folks will be in charge of it, where we'll have specific cars that are non-police cars and not with folks with guns. And they're gonna go out, and when they've identified the appropriate calls, they're gonna make sure that we're responding with care and thoughtfulness and not just guns. And for me, this was a basic thing that I voted yes on. Something I talked about during the campaign is that when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's not what our neighbors deserve. So I'm really excited to see that program take off. We just posted the director for that program, and as soon as they get hired, they're going to build out the rest of that program. And by the end of this year, we're hoping to start seeing the cars and the squads in work. Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. Okay. Keith has some printed copies of the budget, so they'll be passing that around. Thank you, Keith.
Can you explain what non-department is? That's a
Yes,
separate-
I mentioned it's City Council, Mayor's Administration. I think Finance is in there too. It's a bunch of administrative things. MOCAP, yeah. Ty, can you go to the next one? Okay. So now in the next 5 minutes, I want to wrap up. I know you guys have been listening to me for too long. I want to talk about the next phase of what our work looks like. But how do we get? Yeah, can I? If you want to see a budget, can you raise your hand? Keith will get you one. Here, I can help Keith. You want me to give you? Anyone else on this side?
I'll get to you.
Oh, thank you. More paper? Your taxes. Yeah. So a good. What's that? I'll explain a little bit. Great question. Yeah. It's a majority of it is actually income tax. It's income tax. Majority of it is income tax. Yeah. A good chunk of it comes from property taxes, and then we also have other expenses such as our water department, sewer. They are also revenue generating ones. Yeah.
Sewer's
All right.
not a city.
What's that?
Sewer's not a city.
No. Okay, so I'm gonna keep. Let me do. If you can hear my voice, can you clap once? If you can hear it, can you clap twice? Thank you. So I'm gonna just keep pushing through. We have, I think, about 5 more minutes, and then I want to turn it over to everyone and start hearing questions. So, our next phase, like I said, right? We want to move from this reactive phase to proactive phase. And how does that work? It's gonna take us. It's gonna require your help. We're not going to be able to do this alone. And this was something that we were clear about even during the campaign. was that 1 million to 350 number, right? We have a third of the people. We have a third of the resources that we have to figure out how do we stretch this to make sure that all of our facilities get covered. All of our rec centers get the funding they deserve. All of our pools get the lifeguards all time around so that kids aren't waiting outside. And it's going to require your help. It's going to require us to have neighborhood associations and block clubs where neighbors are talking to each other. Because what we found time and time again was that neighbors at this point aren't even aware of who's around them. And this is creating paranoia, it's creating fear, it's creating a bigger drain, not just our collective mental health, but our resources as well, right? When you don't know who your neighbor is down the street, you're more likely to not understand where they're coming from or what's happening and what those situations are. And not only that, we want to start collectively emphasizing that when we work together, we can actually leverage our resources. So whether that looks like getting together and making sure that a neighborhood empty vacant lot gets converted into fire station. That requires organization. That requires you working with your neighbors and talking to each other. And that's what we want you to come in. So over the next few months, what we're going to be doing in our office, like I said, with the additional staff that we've hired, is that if you saw me on your door during the campaign, it's not going to stop. We're still going to be door knocking. We're going to come to your house. We're going to go to each neighbor's house, and we want to start collecting ways to start connecting people. So that if that even means that you have some free time and you want to go to up and down your street and say, hey, would you be interested in making sure that you know who your neighbors are and collecting their email addresses? We want to look for neighborhood block clubs. So folks who can help us get information out about, let's say, water line replacements going through. We're going to be more responsive with our communications as well. So not just social media, but we want to make sure we utilize physical mail as well. Because we know it's a big way how especially senior citizens and other folks who don't have internet are getting this information. And we found historically that the city hasn't done as good of a job at making sure that all of our neighbors are in the loop. So we're going to make sure that you also have the communication at your fingertips. But this is a part that we're really excited about because none of our vision, our ideas about how we deliver on affordable housing or affordable groceries works without an activated neighborhood base. So just stay tuned for that. You're going to be seeing a lot more coming up with that. I'm excited for that work. But that's, and then what was the neighborhood fund?
Like the budgeting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure, actually the most important part of it, how we want to make sure that you're engaged with your neighbors is we want to make sure there's actual things at stake. So each council member gets discretionary money that they can allocate for different things. Historically, council members have used this for things, everything from roads being resurfaced to equipment at their rec centers. One of the ways that we want to utilize this money that we made a commitment to was actually having a way for neighbors to determine what happens with that money. So we're going to allocate $50,000 that we want to make it available for neighborhood block clubs, associations to decide what to do with that money. So if you are a bunch of neighbors that are south of Lorraine and want to make a cleanup and a pocket park of an empty lot of land, we want to support that. And we want to have funds for you. Because all of this is labor that we're asking you to do. And this is your taxpayer money that we want to get back into your pocket, so we want to make sure that's there. So this is a real incentive. We're not just making it a hollow commitment to getting more neighborhood involvement. We want there to be real things that you can impact in your neighborhood, and we want to be there as a partner to make that reality happen. So not only will I commit to working within City Council and City Hall to make sure that the policies reflect that, but we want the dollar commitment to be there as well. So we have a neighborhood fund that we're really excited to start allocating and figuring out what that system looks like. But the first step of that is going to be neighborhood associations coming together. So that's the incentive that we're asking folks to work towards is how do you imagine this coming through? And this is kind of a smaller pilot version of what many folks may have seen a couple years ago when we had participatory budgeting. So we're going to see how it goes this year. And if there's enough buy-in and excitement, then we can talk about expanding that. But initially, we've allocated $50,000 for this. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So that's really all I Yeah, Nico, go ahead.
Yeah, just to like kind of touch base on the last point one more time, like whenever someone calls me and I am talking to the city department, obviously there's a chance that they might listen to me, there's a chance they might do something about it, right? But if I can, if we can collectively go to City Hall and say, we talked to everybody on this block and they're, people are on the same page, like this is what needs to happen with this part of the neighborhood, that's a lot more powerful. And we've seen, historically that those kind of, that kind of organizing and that kind of movements is what gets things actually changed. And that can, be a smaller neighborhood improvement, it could be a bigger picture issue. But that's part of why, I hear a lot of people say, it doesn't seem like the city cares about my neighborhood. And, one way that we can change that is not just through our advocacy, but also through everybody coming together to be stronger in advocating for what you all know already that your neighborhoods need.
And like I said, each step of the way, that's our goal. Whether, like I said, it's the decision about what happens with our empty school buildings. We want you to be in the driver's seat, and we want to make this a real democratic process. I don't view myself as being the sole arbiter of what happens. It's much rather that I'm the partner, and I want to make sure there's room for our residents to be heard and for them to have a say in that process. So we're really excited, and I'm just gonna take a quick poll because we want to understand what are the best ways to get to you. So we're going to be having a regular newsletter that we're going to send out at least monthly, if not weekly. I'm looking to try it weekly, but you guys might get sick of me. But I want to just see, by a quick show of hands, if you get I want to understand, how do you get your news about what's happening in the city? So if you get your news through social media, whether that's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Bluesky or X, I don't even know all the different ones, TikTok, can you please raise your hand if you get it through social media? Online social media. You're getting news updates about what's happening in the city, around the neighborhood. Okay. About half, it looks like. If you're getting it through physical mail, can you raise your hand? Okay. Pretty much everyone. Yeah. And then if you would like to have an email newsletter, can I see a show of hands if that's your preferred way of getting information? Okay. That's helpful. That's great. Were you looking?
Yeah.
Hopefully Nico was counting.
Or a text with
A text? Right now we do not have the ability to text, but that's something we'd explore. So
Yeah.
one of the things, if you've already called into our office, you've probably noticed we're asking you for a phone number and an email. This is the information we're collecting to make sure that we are better at communicating with you. So if we have a good amount of numbers that we can text, that's something I'm definitely open to exploring. I agree that would be a great way to, I found text to be a better backup supplementary thing rather than the primary way of getting information. So, once we have an event sign up, it's better for reminders rather than being the primary way to get information. But I agree, I love that idea. So that was really all I had. I don't know if Nico, you had anything else? Once again, I appreciate everyone being here. Hopefully you can get more food if there's any left, but now I want to hear from you. So we're going to start just doing Q&As, and the only thing I'll kind of caveat with the Q&A is that if it is a specific issue that you believe is only impacting you, we still want to hear you, but just you can come up to me after, or Nico, and we'll be happy to talk about it. We want to hear more general issues so that everybody can benefit from this information being parsed out. So just keep that in mind, and I'll try to keep it limited and keep it moving. So. Oh, we have a microphone, so we'll just do it one. Yeah, if you want to go first, I saw.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Felder. I'm on St. Mark, a homeowner and a business owner here in the city of Cleveland. I have 3 succinct quick questions. I believe they're quick. One is just about your constituency management program.
Yeah.
I heard you say that you didn't receive any of the information from those of us who are in Ward 11. So I'm hoping that the service that you're invested in is transference to council people after.
It
Okay,
will.
great.
That's our goal.
Great.
Yeah.
Second is, you mentioned the receivership program, the 1 million.
Yeah.
How is that being divided? And I can say my last question and you can answer. How is that being divided equitably amongst the wards? And then the third is for the CMSD buildings, the community involvement. Oftentimes we have community involvement sessions that are more performative than actually resulting in the actual input that the community brings to the meeting. So how are you all planning to quantitatively gather the data and then make sure that the issues that however we, delegate them in hierarchy, that they are actually things that are implemented? Because oftentimes the plan for, New West Tech is already actually, the deal has been signed before we even start having meetings about them.
Yeah, great questions. So the receivership, we don't know yet. That's something that we're working with the law department on, and my understanding is that it is not going to be divided amongst the 15 wards. Because it's a pilot program, we're planning it to be a revolving program. So the law department, working in conjunction with the housing court and building and housing, we're kind of letting them lead on this, of identifying a property that would be a good spot to start, and then once that's done, moving on to the next. So it's not going to be divided equally, because as you can imagine, that's not a lot of money that'll go too far. So that's the receivership. And then as for the schools, I agree 100%. That's what I'm fighting for, is to make sure that all of the community engagement they do is not performative, and that decisions are actually made in a democratic, open way. There's two things to that I will just kind of explain quickly. Is that first, right now the buildings are the property of CMSD. And while this, technically seems like a legal thing, but it is important to make that distinction, is that the city itself does not control CMSD directly, right? So CMSD has a school board that has to make that decision of what happens to that building. What we are hoping as a city is that they are willing to, and there's some state laws that they have to navigate, because unfortunately the folks down in Columbus really want to make sure that local government and local people do not get to control their own fates. So they've tried their hardest to make sure that there's requirements that they have to jump through. There's some requirements they have to navigate where they have to offer it for charter schools. So that's something that CMSD is going to have to navigate. But what we're making sure is that on the city administration side, once we get the opportunity, that there's real involvement and commitment from the administration, not to rush it to private development. And that's exactly what, like I said, I've been in the backroom deals, and as far as I know, they have not made any commitments, hard commitments, to convert these into anything yet. And that's what I keep fighting for, is to make sure that there's enough timeline for neighbors to get together and start voicing that in an organized manner. Because at the end of the day, the organization is what matters. If we have 50 people going to the meeting and saying 50 different things, that's much harder to kind of contextualize and put into effect. Versus if we have 50 people that are unified and saying, look, we want a daycare facility to be here because we want more children in our neighborhood. That's something that then I can push and fight for, versus having 50 different things. So I agree. My commitment is definitely to make sure that it is not a performative or empty process. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, actually, go ahead. You got this. Yeah.
My name's Bob Walker. I live right around the corner here for 30 years.
Hey, Bob.
Two things. One is the appearance of the neighborhood. I run in the morning, and I can tell you that 30 years ago, I would run and pick up a can or a McDonald's cup and throw it in the trash as I would run. I can't do that anymore because I'd be stopping every about 3 feet. It's pretty nasty as far as just trash being thrown on the street and nobody doing anything. And that may have to do with money, which is the second part of the question, is property taxes. I'm guessing this is not just me alone because I've talked to other people about it. Mine have gone up in the past year about a third. I appealed it. I went and I talked to the board, and I brought them pictures, I brought them facts. I told them there's no way my house would ever sell for this amount of money in any kind of reality. There was trash everywhere in the neighborhood. I talked to other people who sold their homes, and there was no they did not even budge by $1. I'm thinking when you talk about the census of Cleveland going down would explain why they need more money, but I think when you're looking at neighborhoods like this, which are not your high-income areas, it's not the place to take a third and increase their property taxes by. There's got to be other ways to find the money than taxing the poor, basically is what's happening.
Thanks, Bob. So I think I heard two questions, right? The one about cleaning up and what it looks like. I agree. I know right now, especially coming off of the winter months and the snow having finally melted, division of waste, we're going to make sure that they get out there and get cleanup done in a timely manner. Repeat the question? Yeah, the first question was regarding waste collection and litter around.
Just trash on the street, not trash.
Trash on the street. So, yeah, I agree. We want to make sure it gets picked up. If you see any big things or any areas where there's a lot, call 311. And thank you. This is a good reminder for me to plug 311. I know, and once you call 311, if you do not see any changes or response, we want you to give our office a call. And we'll follow up with 311 and we'll make sure we figure out where the breakdown is. So one of the reasons why we're really pushing hard for 311 to be used is because this is what allows the city to start figuring out what the trends are and where the resources need to be deployed. Every issue that we're facing, once again, is not unique to our ward. This is happening citywide, and we want the city to get better at adjusting and responding. Historically, we haven't done a great job of that. So what we're committing to is making sure that 311 gets the full, robust money and resources it needs to respond to constituent services. So that, call 311. That's a big ask, and especially for Nico's mental health, give him a call first, and then call us. Get the ticket number or whatever caller ID, whatever number they get you to track it, because that allows us to go on the back end and make sure that that appropriate department is following up with that, and then we'll get you an answer.
You have
Yeah.
a whole area of the ward that 311 does not work.
Deb, I know we talked about that. I haven't gotten that more, but if you, are there other folks that number doesn't work for? Penny? Okay. No, we'll,
I called 2000-664-2000.
Yeah, we have some flyers over here with some information about 311. There is an alternative number, you just mentioned it, 216-664-2000 that you can call if 311 doesn't work for you.
make sure you get that flyer.
Yeah, so there's
And-
this over here.
And then the second question of your program was about property taxes, Bob. I want to make sure I don't, and we can talk more about that. But the property taxes, absolutely, I've heard many concerns about it. I agree it's an issue, especially for folks who are on a fixed income. Unfortunately, property taxes is a county issue, is a state issue. What I've talked about and what my understanding is, there are things that the city can do. What I would love to work with my city council members on is having a program that gives a discount on the city portion that we can give back to folks. And that's something, we can restrict by age, income, whatever that looks like. But that is something that will have to be a legislative fix. So it's something that I've definitely heard about, and I've asked my council members to look into it. But it's something that we're going to have to get a majority of folks on, but you're not alone, and I hear you. It's something we absolutely have to get a fix on. And it's giving real ammunition and, just kind of validating what you're saying of what we've heard about the eliminating property taxes conversation statewide. It absolutely will, destroy local government if this happens. And part of the way we have to fight it is to make sure that people understand where their taxes are going and help them understand the benefit of their taxes. But we also have to adjust at the same time and not follow these high property valuations. So I'm definitely going to be working on that. Thank you, Bob. I don't know where the mic is.
My
Oh.
comment goes back to the combining of the wards.
Yeah.
A lot of this has nothing to do actually with the ward itself, but it has to do with voting. A lot of people were really confused last election. I got cussed out. I work as a voting official. I got called names. I got cussed out. Please, you can call for an election. Check where you vote. That's going to affect everybody next voting when they close New Tech West. That's a big voting area.
Yeah.
So you need to call the Board of Elections, find out exactly where you're supposed to vote. The other thing is we need election officials. Tell the board, you get paid, I'm not gonna mention the amount because it varies. You get paid to do it, it's a civic duty, a lot of places, your employer will give you the day off for. We need poll workers, we need people to know where they vote so that when you're voting on issues for the city, you know where you're voting and things get done.
Thank
If
you.
it's an issue that affects Ward 12, you know where you're supposed to go vote. Be it New West Tech, be it Elmira. We need to vote. And people aren't doing it.
I agree. I don't think I heard a question, but I agree.
There was a comment.
No. Thank you.
Everybody together.
Yeah.
So we keep Ward 12. There's an issue that's gonna affect Ward 12 that's on the ballot. We need to know where to vote. Do something about it.
Sure. I
Or
agree.
citywide issue.
Yeah.
This gentleman, this young lady over here, then in the middle, and that gentleman.
And can I just, when you ask your question, can you just introduce yourself by your name and whatever street or neighborhood you live in?
Yeah, my name's Dan Colgrove. I live on 118th Street.
Okay. Hey, Dan.
My concern is the Variety Theater.
Yeah.
I recently heard that the previous owner had sold it. That's a good thing. Then I found out the new owners live in California. Now, I don't know if you've looked at the Variety Theater on 118th Street, there's a grass area there. It's not really grass, it's big, green, leafy, ugly looking stuff. A lot of litter. I had a front end of a car sitting over there last week. Also, I mean, the previous owner lived in Rocky River. Kelly was her name, Kelly Fanous or something. It was like pulling teeth trying to get her to cut that.
So I can just give, Dan, I don't want to cut you off, but that deal did not go through. No. So Kelly Flamos is still the owner. We've been in close conversation with her. We have a stakeholders meeting on that in a week or two. We are looking at other options. That owner from California that tried to buy it, that deal did not go through.
Oh, okay.
So we're still, unfortunately, Kelly is not able to continue on with the project. So we are looking at ways that we can step in or figure out other ways to.
Yeah, because you
Save that
gotta
property.
clean that, you gotta secure the building.
Yes.
Last summer I had like doors open, I walked the door, people breaking into the place,
Yes.
this and that. And also, caused a rat problem.
Yeah.
I've lived over there for 35 years. Rats come out, and I got rats in my yard. You know.
No, I agree.
She's back on
It's
it.
an eyesore.
I mean, she's gotta
Yeah.
cut that at least once a week or every other week.
No, we'll
'Cause it
make sure.
grows real fast.
We'll make sure we follow up with that. But what I will share on the Variety is that I'm committed to making sure that we can get some kind of local control over that property, because I absolutely see it as an anchor institution
Everybody
that will
says
really
that.
bring that back. I know.
What was the selling price that fell through?
I don't know. It's not disclosed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was all a private arm's length contract.
You're looking for office space, just walk down Lorraine Avenue between 117th and about 125th.
Listen, if the landlords will give me a space I can afford, I'll do it.
Awesome, man.
They don't care. Yeah, I know. Listen, not bad idea. Yeah.
I know.
Where we at?
Hi everybody, my name is Vaughn. I live blocks that way, right in this little pocket right here. So excited about this because once I moved there in 2018, it just felt like we have so many amazing people on these streets right here, but we never get to see each other. So I'm just happy to see neighbors and get together with neighbors. So I don't have a question for you. I'm just gonna co-opt the mic for a second. So I care so much about,
I think it works. Try it now.
I thought I was loud.
It wasn't working, no, it's not loud enough, no.
Okay, I care so much about mature trees and the shade that they bring as our city heats up. It just gets really, really, really hot in the summer. I feel like we're losing mature street trees, and I never really know why they're coming down. So I just want to say, without taking too much time, if you care about that as well, come talk to me afterwards, because I just feel so alone. I see these trees come down. I feel the temperatures in summer getting to 100 and whatever, and we need that shade. We need our kids to be playing in shade. So if anybody wants to try to organize in ways that help us to at least know what's happening with our large mature trees, please let me know.
Thank you. Only thing I'll add on to that is we have a new division of urban forestry with a really, I think, amazing, competent chief for it. His name is Phil. He's really excited. They're increasing their capacity and doing a lot of things that previously the city was contracting out. We're starting to do that in-house so we can get not only the accountability, but start tracking what's happening with our tree canopy. So I'm really excited for our new division of urban forestry. And if you get a chance, you can give them a call if you have issues with your trees. Yeah. Thank you. The mic's over here, yeah.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I live on 127th by Cooley. Two questions, and you might have sort of just answered one. I was going to ask who handles the tree lawn trees, because with these storms recently, and this was a big thing on social media, a lot of those trees had been called into the city because they were rotting. People had 8 years worth of records and nothing had been done with those trees, but now they're on the news because they're splitting somebody's roof in half. So will it be urban forestry that's handling that? Probably.
I hope. I certainly hope. We're figuring out, but what I can tell you, the maintenance of tree lawns is the property owner. It is not the city. Whenever
Not the tree. Not the tree. The trees have been planted by the city, and the city will cite the owners for doing stuff to those trees.
Yeah.
The owners have.
So we're hoping that increase their capacity, but if you have anything that you see as an issue, please give them a call or call up on 311 and then we'll follow up with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other question is that Casey and Slight work together a lot because they represent the majority of West Park. But about 25% at least of Ward 12 is also in West Park. Will you be working with the two of them?
Absolutely. Yeah, we already have. Also working really closely with not just KZ, who's next to us, but also Councilwoman Nikki Hudson in Ward 11. We're already coordinating closely. She was really instrumental in fighting for funding for the Summer Sprouts program. And of course, we've been working on the old CVS parcel as well. Yeah. No, I'm really excited. We're learning together. Thank you.
Hi, Matt Murphy. I actually am from Edgewater. I missed your last meeting. I apologize for that. But when are we doing with the streets? I know you touched on it briefly with the budget, but
Yeah.
I'm tired of driving like I'm drunk trying to miss stuff. And it's not hard. West 117 is horrible. Detroit coming from West Boulevard, the potholes are like 6 inches deep. Like, someone's gonna get into a serious accident and costly repairs that we can't afford. Do we have any type of ETA? I call 311 all the time to complain, but nothing happens.
So, great question, Matt. Thank you for coming down. Two parts of it. First is right now, the asphalt plants aren't open, so we cannot do actual road resurfacing. What city crews have started doing are, they call them like quick fixes, like I think it's a hot patch, but they're pretty temporary, and once they put it in, you'll see them kind of crumble in just a few weeks and they have to be redone. It works exactly, for a temporary solution, but as soon as the asphalt plants open, then we're gonna start doing the road resurfacing. For the Division of Streets, which is under Public Works, we just submitted our list of residential streets that we want to see resurfaced for Ward 12. And we made those selections based on, they grade them. They grade them from A to F, and we selected from D and F streets. So they have a rating system. And you're gonna be seeing those crews hopefully as soon as the asphalt plants open up. My understanding is they usually open up by the end of April. But as soon as they open up, they're gonna start resurfacing and they'll go throughout up until October. And we're hoping that our entire list that we've given them will be resurfaced.
What streets are on the list?
Great question. I just asked Nico to pull that up. So I know off the top of my head, we had, if you're living on St. John, anybody here from St. John? No? If you are, congratulations, you're gonna get a new street. Let me see. Okay, so we've requested, so by the way this works is each ward gets an allocation amount based on how bad their streets are, and we divide some other money that we fought for equally between the wards. So this year, our Ward 12 budget for streets was 1.16 million. So that's how much money we're gonna be putting into streets. So the streets that were selected was West 111th, St. John Avenue, West 115th, which is a brick road, West 116th, which was left over from Councilman Kelly. That my understanding is I think it's from Clifton to Madison. That was something that Councilman Kelly had allocated money for that the Division of Streets hadn't finished, so they're going to be finishing that this year. And then we also have West 103rd, Marne Avenue, and then Lynette Avenue, Elmira, and Florian. And it's not the entire streets, but there's chunks of it. The ones that are the worst rated are the ones that we've prioritized.
No West 117 and no Detroit over by West Boulevard. West Boulevard has big.
No, I agree. What we select and have choice over are the residential streets. Those are the commercial corridors that the city will fix, but that is not something I get a say in. But 117th, I've been on them about it for weeks. I promise you that they'll get there. I'm pushing them to do that, but the commercial corridors are not me.
Can I give him a solution?
Please.
Just a quick question. Are
Yeah.
these gonna be Millenfeld? or are they taking it down to the substrates?
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll figure out. If
I
they're
didn't quite hear
milling,
that. Could you say? Could we repeat
are
the
the,
question?
are the fixes going to be mill and fill, or are they going to be down to the substrate? Does anyone know the answer? I feel like there's a lot of
The
experts.
fixes should be down. Should be.
Mill and fill is just where they take out the top surface of the asphalt.
Sure.
It gets reprocessed.
No, it's a good question. I don't know. Yeah.
They
I don't know.
usually, it goes in chunks.
Okay.
Can I respond? Yeah, if you want, sir, I don't know if you know this already, but if you go onto the city's website, there's where you can do the pothole claim. And then once that claim is filed, if you get damage from that pothole, then you can submit your bill to the law department for the reimbursement.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm just saying, just in case, but submit them, because if you don't submit, if they're not recorded, the law department will reject your claim. That's what I'm saying. So just, you can go around and note all the potholes and just submit them, and then if something does happen to you or your neighbors, they can.
All right. We'll keep going. I appreciate everyone's patience.
Here, young lady in the blue, young man in the green, young lady in the green, then you, okay?
And then you also got one.
And then in the back.
Hi, my name is Linda, and I live on 111th and Lorraine. And I want to personally thank Nico. He's helped me out immensely with the problem on my street.
Hey, Nico.
And I couldn't do without him. And we're becoming bosom buddies because I call him 3 times a week. And he does help, okay? That's all I can tell you. I've called the health department, the building department. He's been right on it, and I can't say enough. Thank God we have him. I hope too bad we don't have 10 more of him. Okay, now, what are we going to do with all the empty storefronts on Lorraine Avenue between 117th and West Boulevard? I'd like to know because that's just trashed through the whole neighborhood there. And also, and I'm here 31 years, and like the other gentleman with the rats and everything else running around, I never had that before.
Yeah.
And we have too many landlords that don't care about the tenants that are living in their properties. And they're also not even listed in the rental as they should be. And it's getting totally out of hand. And I have pictures, unfortunately, someone did clean it up, I should say, in one respect. I have a landlord who lives in Old Brooklyn. The house is 3 houses for me, and for 4 weeks, 15 bags of garbage were on her front porch. And I was not happy. I even went to the landlord's house, and she threw me off her property. I didn't care because I don't live there. I live here.
Don't go to people's houses.
Well, I mean, it's not a good thing to do. I have to do that. I'm 78 years old. I never had a rat or a mouse in my life.
I'll address, so the storefront, I agree. I mean, the commercial corridors are the lifeline of our city.
And what about 110th and Lorraine, also the shopping center?
Yeah, so the way that we've approached this is that the way we can get more people to move in here is to improve the lives of the people and the businesses that are already here.
And you have to really get after the
Yeah,
landlords.
we do.
And the thing is, she's not even out of town. She's in Brooklyn.
No, we're working on legislative fixes. One of the things that we want to work on is creating a bad landlords list. So that once we get you on that list, there's going to be punishments that follow.
I can tell you who they are. I know them all. Okay.
Sounds good. And you have Nico's number.
Yeah, but no, he's got mine and he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I want to be like Lakewood, Ohio.
And we will. And there was a time where Lakewood wanted to be Cleveland, and we'll get back.
No, I don't know.
No, you think I'm joking, but I want to talk about this. At one point, all of the suburbs were jealous because Cleveland was one of the first cities that had rec centers and parks that other people could not enjoy. And this was a big part of what fueled the growth of Cleveland. And I know oftentimes we've forgotten, but we can do great things, and we're going to get back there if we work together. So I'm really excited, but I agree with you. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Leslie. I live over on Fidelity. Thank you for doing this, and I think this is going to be quick. The CVS on Madison and West, what is the plan for that now?
Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's not going to be Leslie.
Leslie, yeah.
Leslie, thank you. Yeah, so right now, if folks have been following the news, you might have seen some updates. The city has offered what the developers bought that property for. It's about $630,000. The city has offered that to the developers to buy it. The goal is to convert it into a fire station, because the fire station that's just 2 blocks down is Fire Station 23, is really outdated. There's health concerns with the fire station firefighters there because they share living quarters with the exhaust fumes from the trucks. So we've had issues. So it's high on the list of fire stations that needs to get replaced. And because of its proximity to the current fire station, they won't have to change the response times and certain things. They have to make sure that the fire station is within. But that's the goal. We're hoping the developers will agree and let the city do it. But there might be some more discussions and a fight about that. But my understanding is that the city is willing to go forward with the eminent domain process if the developers do not agree. And that's what we're pushing for. Yeah. So we have the offer letter that went out to them was for 10 days. And I believe that 10 days is up on Monday. So we should have some more news by the end of the month. Yeah. Real quick. I know there's a list, but did you have something quick, Deb?
Just 2 questions. When you talk about affordable housing, how are we going to guarantee that we have affordable housing? The Nathaniel Hawthorne apartments in our neighborhood are they're sky high.
I hear you. I do want to make it fair. I know Brent was already there. Can we come back to you? Okay. Do you want to finish the?
And then the other thing is a suggestion, because you keep talking about landlords, do a hotline. So we've got some place that people that are at the mercy of their landlords, like we've talked about with my neighbor, they have some place to call.
Yeah.
So that they know and get it out, get a hotline.
I agree. So the affordable housing part, there's 2 components of it. Right now, the city is working on getting a modular housing developer to come in, and this is something that has been in the works since. They keep telling me 2022, 2023. It's close. They're finding a site for it, and the hope is that once the company's moved in and they've started creating these, we'll be able to put in this modular housing in a lot of places. However, that doesn't address the issues that we already have with the affordable housing. For me, what I'm committed to exploring and understanding is how can we have ways to actually create the policies that will make that happen. And right now, I actually don't think the supply is the issue necessarily. We have to build denser housing, that's a part of it. But what I'm looking to do is create capacity within our city to do construction and repairs. Because we keep finding that we're getting charged an arm and a leg, and there's 50 middlemen every time we want to have development come through, and all of it ends up becoming luxury development. That is not what I'm looking for, and that is not what I agree with. And as a matter of fact, right now, for the folks who may be familiar, there's a lot that's at the corner of West Boulevard and Clifton. There's a developer there that wants to put in 6 townhomes. They're going to be priced about $450,000. Not affordable by any means, certainly not for me or most of the folks I know in our ward. They're going to get, because of a policy that City Council and the administration passed back in '24, they're going to get 100% abatement for 15 to 10 years. And this is a blanket policy legislation that we have, where because the city believes in order to have development, we have to give, arm and a leg to developers. And the first thing I want to do is change that policy, because I see it as a way that we're mortgaging off our future. These are not good deals that we're making for our residents. We cannot have development at the cost of our libraries, our schools, our parks losing funding for the next 10 to 15 years. But the problem runs deep, and I know you know better than most how complex this issue is. But for me, the first step is making sure that the abatements don't just go unchecked. And right now, they kind of are. So we're working on a couple different things. And for that reactive to proactive phase, the legislative fixes that we want to bring, I want to bring that by August to end of the year. Because part of what we're finding out right now is that most of City Hall is a black box, not just to me, even after I started working there, but to most of the residents. We don't know how to get things done through City Hall. And because of this lack of understanding, there's been what I believe a kind of a lack of creativity in ways that we can push our administration to come through on. But right now, unfortunately, and this is something that I disagree with the mayor's administration on, they're much more focused on building, development in downtown and luxury housing, but that's something that we want to fight for to make sure that we get affordable and denser housing. So, yeah. And then the second question was?
No, it was a suggestion, a hotline.
The hotline. The issue, if I could, I would do it in my office, but we want to make sure that if there's a hotline, we properly staff that. Right now, Legal Aid has the hotline from the previous Cleveland Tenants Organization. That is staffed. However, that's, to me, one of the leads that we can have for Citywide Tenants Union is how do we start taking those leads and doing Know Your Rights presentations for tenants so that they're more empowered to work with their neighbors. So, absolutely. And one of the things I've suggested to the mayor's administration and that we're fighting for is creating a specific office for tenant protections, because it goes beyond just a hotline. We need to have follow through from building and housing. But once again, you saw that budget where the building and housing budget amount was what, 1.8%, Brent? Yeah, 1.8%. That's how much this administration prioritizes building and housing. So that number is going to have to change if we want to see accountability from landlords and from developers.
Community development also has a fair housing manager too, who's very hands-on, and the new director, Aaron Miller-Tate, is looking to expand that office too. It's very high on priority for community development, for fair housing, and helping get rid of a lot of these slumlords.
Thank you, Robert. And everyone say hi to Robert from Community Development. Robert is assigned for our ward, for our section of the city. So he's been working on this for quite a while. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Brett?
Thanks. First off, kudos on the proposed direction for the CVS. Happy to hear that that's going forward, and also for your comments on the West Boulevard in Clifton. I think the program that they've been describing is not exactly a right fit for the neighborhood, nor is it work towards affordable or anything like that. One kind of commentary, there might be a question as I get to it. I was fortunate enough, my name is Brent Eisenbach, by the way. I live by Clifton and West 103rd. We had a sewer replacement last year, and because of that, we had fresh paving on West 103rd up there. The dismaying part about it, though, is that it was a water pollution control project. And so they only dug up the trench, and they didn't do the base of the entire road. And so now this year, after winter, we're starting to see the shadow of that trench poke through a little bit, and there's also some cracks forming in the new surface. So I guess the question here is, I'd like to talk with your office about making sure that whether it's streets or water pollution control or whatever department needs to come out and secure a little bit of that investment, whether it's crack sealing or whatever they need to do to hopefully make that last a little longer. And then number two, I'd like to see the council put some pressure on the administration so that they really don't just sort of, pardon my French, ask a job when it does get done. If you're gonna have the amount of construction that we did in the Clifton Baltic area related to the sewer projects that were going on, let's do the whole road, let's do it right, and then presumably you don't need to come back for 35 or 40 years, which I hear from my neighbors was the last time that a road had ever previously been visited. So, I probably won't see another resurfacing in my lifetime of our road, and that's just a little bit frustrating when we talk about resources and we're not using our resources properly or synergizing the city departments. So I'd like to see a little bit of pressure from council on the administration and the departments with that. And then the second one that I'd like you to maybe comment on is what sort of pressure can the council put on the administration when it comes to traffic enforcement to try to get a handle on the reckless and lawless driving and stuff that's going on.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. I'll start off with the first one regarding the water pollution control and the issues with how it's been cracking. So this is it's actually touching on a fight within utilities, because utilities has CPP, it also has water, and it also has water pollution control. So oftentimes there's a fight within the department of who is responsible for cleaning up. It's all within one. It's all one department, which sounds funny, but the issue is, I agree, I hear you. It's something that Councilman Polensek has been focused on, has been pushing the folks to, we're essentially asking utilities to stop pointing the finger at each other and just fix the issue, and that's what we're supportive of. So it is something that we've already talked to the Department of Utilities about, and we're gonna follow through to make sure they come up with a longer term solution for it. And then the second question that you wanted me to comment on was traffic enforcement. Thank you. So public safety, the Committee for Public Safety just had a whole hearing on this. It's 46%, 48% of the budget. It is a big issue we're seeing across the city. It's not just Ward 11. one of the ways that we're pushing, of course, we're asking the police to step up their enforcement, but one of the ways that we can commit to it is by putting in more speed tables. And we're committed to doing that. We've already had, how many are being scheduled for this year? 18?
I think with the ones we're adding, it will be like 23 or something like that.
Okay. So we're going to be putting in 20 to 25 speed tables across just Ward 12, just this year alone. And that's with that discretionary money, with the road resurfacing money, because it's an easy way that we can have more safer roads and prevent people from speeding. But you know, we're staying on top of the cops to make sure that they enforce the laws.
We're putting other traffic money and other traffic calming stuff too.
And thank you, Nico. And we're also doing other traffic calming stuff. It's an easy way that we can prevent, save lives. And a couple of those things are, you've probably already seen, like I think it's on Clifton, I know, it's going to be going up on Lorraine. I think already certain parts has, where they're doing a hardline centering. So where folks are making left turns, they'll make it a little harder for them to just cut through because it's encouraging people from cutting through. We're also going to be, I've also committed our discretionary money for delineators at the curbs. So if you're on Lorraine and Detroit, I know you've often probably had issues when you're taking a left or right and there's cars that are parked too close to the curb. They shouldn't be parked there. We want to prevent people from being able to park there at all. So they're going to be putting up strips so that they're not able to do that. So we're also putting those in, and we're hoping that they'll be done by the end of summer.
Councilman,
Yeah.
is there any way that that could look better?
What do you mean?
Well, I've seen those like kind of big plastic kind of, it looks terrible. I understand
Things that got run over downtown.
it's functional, but like, can't we do a better job of landscaping the city so that it looks nice?
The plastic hardline ones?
Yeah.
So the plastic hardline ones, I don't know. What I will say is that what I've pushed the traffic and engineering folks when they told us about this, what I was pushing was I want more longer term solutions. I want like hard infrastructure, whether that's concrete, whether that's landscaping with planters in it, something. They said that's going to be something that another Office of Capital Projects does, and that's a project that has to be planned out years in advance. They haven't started that, but they're saying, at least traffic and engineering, they can do this immediately. So we're making those investments right now, but it's something that I'm working on, making sure we can beautify the space.
That's the word.
Beautify, absolutely. I don't know where the mic is. I don't want to skip the line too much. I know folks have been waiting patiently. Thank you, Hallie.
Hi, I'm Hallie. I live over on St. Mark. And two things. One's just kind of a statement. I'm a little concerned about some of the neighborhood groups. I would love to have stronger neighborhood groups, especially down here in like the south of Lorraine. We are, as far as I know, have much of that going on. But I'm really concerned that there's folks who will still fail to be represented and their voices won't be heard. People who are overemployed, who are not financially secure, who can't speak out for various religions, maybe they're immigrants and so on. So I'm a little concerned where we have groups that are very vocal, well-funded, and they're just the squeaky nail, constantly getting the grease. I would like there to be equitable share of resources and just making sure that we're all on the same page, that just because some groups are quieter doesn't mean that they don't need the same amount of attention. In fact, they may need more. It's just a statement on where my head is on that.
Yep.
And secondly, I would love to have more public art in this area. I feel like we don't have any murals, we don't have any real sculptures or anything that reflects our identity and our culture. And I think that that's something you go to most other parts of the city and you can, you can identify them by that. And we're completely lacking in that here. It doesn't seem to really have ever existed. I would love to see some sort of focus on sharing our identity and growing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Beautification.
What I'll just add on, I absolutely agree with your first comment. For the second portion, one of the things we actually just got the first images for is there's going to be a big mural going up on the side of the wall here with the library. So that'll be the first one, but I'm absolutely committed to putting our discretionary money towards beautifying the space. It's one of the things that I'm hoping Westtown and our CDC partners will pick up with is helping beautify the space and doing what I think I've heard them call it like placemaking, is like helping neighborhoods have an identity. So whether that's West Boulevard, whether that's Cudell, whether that's Edgewater, we want ways for folks to be able to identify and be proud of what their neighborhood looks like. And I absolutely love the idea. If folks want to come together and say, look, we want this space to be having a mural, we're all for it. So if you have places that you think would be a good place to put that up, we can work together and find out which artist to get, and I'd love to figure that out. That's another way we can put that neighborhood fund to work. Yeah.
Reach out
Thanks,
to
Hallie.
Rhonda Brown, Director Brown. That is her whole job in City Hall. She's Director of Arts and Culture, and she loves art and putting up art. She's working on a big project downtown, but that is her thing.
That's
she
right.
has an art background. Rhonda Brown, City Hall.
Thank you. Yeah.
My question, I talked to you before, this is Kim over on St. Mark.
Hey, Kim.
But I'm not talking about that, but I want to know, why doesn't our CDC ever do anything? You hear about camps having a hoolie. Jefferson has Easter egg hunts and Halloween parties. We had a party in front of a theater that was up for sale right before the election, and that's it.
Yeah.
We used to have concerts in the park in July on Sundays. We don't, you want to get these groups together, but yet I don't ever hear our CDC doing anything, because I go to the safety meetings and I hear, this ones are doing this and that, and we do nothing.
Yeah, I appreciate that sentiment, Kim. It is something that you're not alone. During the campaign,
We want to get the families to stay.
Yeah.
We got to give them families. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. What I'll just share about that is you're not alone. During the campaign and beyond, since we've heard time and time again that we're not seeing the impact for that public investment that we're making, and I have had those conversations with the board members at Westtown.
I mean, we have a beautiful park in the gazebo.
Yeah.
And we chose to have it in the middle of the street on Lorraine Avenue, in front of the theater that wasn't even open.
I know. Like I said, you're not alone, and I've asked board members to start understanding what the concerns of the community are, and I have asked for changes. So, there is a independent board that is in control of our CDC. What I've committed to in making sure they understand is that we want to see some changes in a different direction that they can head in, so that neighbors start understanding what their impact is.
And I think you might get that ripple effect, because then if they see the CDC and you get the streets and the neighbors start talking to each other, it's gonna just start, a movement that.
Yeah. No, I agree. At this point, I've met with most of the board members at Westtown. I have a few left, but that's the same message I've let them know. And at the end of the day, I'm not the boss of the CDC. I'm not in control of them. No, no, you're not alone. And
Because you hear everything that Cam's done.
yes,
Jefferson is the same thing.
yes, a majority of the CDC's funding comes from City Council through CDBG money allocation. And like I said, what I've made it clear to the board is that I want to see some changes. Otherwise, we cannot justify spending the same amount of public money for that.
Right.
So I've let them know. Yeah. Thank you, Kim. Yeah. Who's next? Yeah.
My name is John. I live on West 123rd, and I'm the operations manager at the Salvation Army on 126 in Lorraine. And I want to use this opportunity to share that anybody with any food insecurity, we have a food pantry 3 days a week and a massive service giveaway once a month. We serve about over 600 to 800 different families per month. It's always a good opportunity to pick up on behalf of your neighbors. Our area is not confined to just this ward, it's actually quite large. And also, volunteer opportunities are numerous. I'd love for you to connect also with a very, very diverse demographic that comes to our Salvation Army. I'm always trying to get opportunities for individuals to speak and advocate for something in the community. So it's just, for patrons and volunteers and anybody in the community, I kind of just want to put that out there. I failed to bring flyers with the hours, so if you guys have any questions, I can answer them. I have cards, I can connect you to whatever, but.
What was your name?
My name's John.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, John. Can we get a card to Nico before you leave? That'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's a very popular place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Back to me.
Before I have you go,
go in.
can I make sure that folks who haven't had a chance to speak get up? I want to make sure before we go for Ron.
I don't need it, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're good?
Hi, good
Oh.
afternoon. Yes, my name is Liz. I'm a resident on West 115th. I just have two quick questions.
Yeah. Hey, Liz.
The corner of West 117th and Triscuit, if
could possibly get a left turn signal there. It is so congested. Since they opened that Dunkin' Donuts, it is a nightmare. And also the other one was, you had mentioned West 115th would be repaved. Is that from Lorraine to Arden?
Yes,
Thank you.
The brick portions?
We have two
The big hole.
locations, the whole street has shifted.
Yeah.
And we have major
Yeah.
water breaks.
It is Arden, right? It is Arden to Lorraine?
It's like the 3200s of West 115.
It's up further then? I'm at 3179, so it has to be, yeah,
Yeah,
Arden.
the city gave us a list of only certain like locations on brick streets that were eligible to be paved, and we picked all the ones that were on the West 115th that they gave us. Looking at the list, all of those are in the 3200s.
But,
Yeah, because there's
Yeah.
two huge cave-ins
Yeah.
that's been there for a year and a half, and all we have is an orange barrel. And my concern is the school bus stops right there at the stop sign, picks up the children and drops them off.
Yeah.
And people move
We
that
can't
barrel
have that.
constantly.
We can't have that, but
Yeah,
we did
it's
pick
just-
all the spots that we could on 115th after we took a look, so absolutely. And
Because
we'll
there's two-
I'll follow
and
up and double
I believe
check.
they're right there in that 3200 location,
Okay.
coming
And
further up.
we've given our initial selection that I listed off earlier to Division of Streets. After they're gonna go back out and assess, they're gonna come back to us. If there's any more room to adjust or add streets, we definitely will. But that's something we'll definitely keep in mind. Thank
They
you.
were just out there this week. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had this issue for a good year and a half that that's been caving in. They
Yeah.
come, they fix it, all the manpower, all the money they put. And there's major issue there because it just keeps caving in.
Okay, and that's 3100.
No,
It's
it's
right at
about the
115th and
3200, I
Arden.
would say.
115th and Arden? Okay.
Right on the corner.
We'll
Can't
come
miss
back
it.
and take a look.
You can't miss it.
Okay.
You can't.
Nico, you got that location down? Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other folks that haven't got? Oh yeah.
Super quick, I want to get it. I'm Katie. I live on West Boulevard, south of Lorraine, and have lived there about 10 years. But I want to shout out Nico over here. We have, and plug, we are trying to start a little block club, so calling it South of Lorraine. So if anybody's interested, please talk to me. But next Saturday, we have a cleanup time. We're planning a cleanup day. Do you know where West 105th and West Boulevard come together? Right there. There's a historical marker there. Has anybody ever seen the historical marker? Yeah, it's like peeling and the paint is terrible, so we decided to do something about it. So we're gonna be painting that, cleaning up the area, and Nico has, these guys are amazing, and they're gonna be bringing some small dumpster that day for us to clean up, and then the city will pick it up. So it's noon next Saturday at that little point, and then we'll have food and stuff afterwards, because nothing is fun without food. So that is, if anybody wants to come, and then we also have another day in May. So we are a loose band of neighbors who just want to make things look a lot nicer. We've also done some book exchanges. I have a little library in front of my house, and then we had some perennial plant exchanges, which I love. Perennial, we can all have nicer yards for free. We just need to share our stuff, you know? Yeah, just, if you don't have hostas, if you buy hostas, you don't have enough friends. So we just have to like split everything up and spread it all out and help each other if you want to do something. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. So we're also just starting all of this out. So. How do you want to hear about us? I just put emails into a new Gmail we have. So if you want to see me after this, I'm happy for you to share that email with me.
If you reach out to and you let us know, Nico can put you in touch too afterwards.
Nico, are you okay with that? I feel like. I just posted it on the West Boulevard. I did that Tuesday, and it was pending admin. I don't know who admin is.
I'm here too, but.
Okay. So it is up there as soon as it gets. And we have a little flyer. There's flyers in my book box. And Keith, shout out Keith, walked around and put flyers on about 60 houses right up and down West Boulevard this week. So we're getting it together.
Thank you, Katie. And I just want to give a quick plug, like that's the exact type of partnership we want to do. We don't want to limit to any one thing, but whatever ways you want to work with your neighbors on, we want to help you do it. Whether that means coming up with a dumpster to help you do a cleanup, to making sure that we can get more resources funded towards it, or helping you connect, send out flyers to your neighbors, sending them if you give us a list, or we can select a bunch of streets and send a blast. So whatever ways you want to help, that's the exact way we were looking for a partnership. So thank you.
I just
And,
wanted,
one quick, I'll also mention, I know we're getting 8 to 10. I'm here, Nico's here till every last one leaves or the library kicks us out. But if you need to go, please feel free to leave. We are done with the section. If you need to, please get our contact information down. If you need to get a hold of us, you can call that call that number and reach out to that email. Don't call that email. So yeah.
really quick, just before I hand the mic over, my manager has just told me if you want to hold your block club meetings at a place, we will stay open and you can have them here.
Just, one quick question. What is the fine for somebody that keeps parking their car on front lawns? It's so aggravating to come home.
I don't know. What is it? We'll look into it.
And stray cats. Stray cats in the neighborhood, and if I offend anybody that feeds them, I'm sorry, but people have to stop because they're everywhere.
I want to make sure we're still respectful. Hey, if you can hear me once, can you clap twice? If you can hear me, can you clap twice? Okay, if you have to leave, please feel free to take conversations outside. I still want to be respectful of the folks who are staying back to ask questions. So please, if you can, take any side conversations outside. We'll continue on, and like I said, I'm here as long as we need. Yeah.